Thank you. It's an honor to be asked to speak in front of you all. We're talking a lot about the kids, and I think they're just that, kids. I mean, these are 18 and 19-year-old kids that are at these college campuses. They grew up dipped in Purell, playing soccer games where they never kept score and watching Wah Wah Wubsy. And we're asking them to be mature. We need the adults to start being the adults. Studies have shown that if you take people and you put them in a zero-gravity environment, like astronauts, they lose muscle mass, they lose bone density. We're taking these kids in the name of protection, we're putting them in a zero-gravity environment, and they're losing muscle mass and bone density. They need to live in a world that has gravity. When you need to expose your children to germs and dirt in the environment to build up their immune system. Our plan is put them in a bubble, keep them away from everything, and somehow they'll come out stronger when they emerge from the bubble. Well, that's not happening. Could we just bring back order, and could the faculty and administration on these campuses act like faculty and administration, and most importantly, adults who are in charge of these kids who need some gravity in their life? Thank you.
Mr. Carolla, we've heard from the other side. We've heard from a couple of our witnesses about intent to cause violence. We've heard the term agitator used. We've heard that it's appropriate to criticize hate speech. When you're on campus, do you engage in hate speech?
Well, it's all in the ear of the beholder. That's the problem, and everyone's ears are getting super sensitive. I try to be a little more philosophical about all this stuff, and I was at a Home Depot in Glendale, California 2 days ago, standing in the tool department, and a Taylor Swift song came on, and I was initially agitated. I just didn't feel like it was good thematically for me to be looking at roto-hammers with Taylor Swift talking about how hot she was. But all I did was keep shopping, keep walking. I realized some people like this music, some people don't like this music. It's the prerogative of whoever manages the Home Depot to play Taylor Swift at that time. I didn't complain, I didn't throw something at the speaker, and I didn't start a fire. I just got my tools, paid, and left. And I just thought if more people could do that with ideas they disagree with, or people they disagree with, or music they disagree with, it's not an endorsement of Taylor Swift. It's, I have a life to lead, I need a roto-hammer, and I don't personally hold the manager of this Home Depot. Nothing against him if he wants to play, he or she wants to play Taylor Swift. And I'm not saying don't have an opinion, and I'm not saying don't voice your opinion. But when other people are voicing their opinion or singing their song, sometimes it's time just to grab your roto-hammer and head for the parking lot.
In your appearances on campuses, has your intentions ever been to cause violence on college campuses?
Oh, sorry for skirting the question.
No. It's a second question. It's a second question you did fine on the first.
Literally talking about Taylor Swift and skirting, mini-skirting the question. Of course not. Never. No. Geez, I want to talk about my white privilege so badly. I graduated North Hollywood High with a 1.7 GPA. I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps, and I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see in about 7 years. And I went to a construction site and dug ditches and picked up garbage for the next 7 years. I got a letter in the mail sent to my father's house saying, your time has come to do the written exam for the LA Fire Department. I took it, and I was standing in line, and I had a young woman of color standing behind me in line, and I said, just out of curiosity, when did you sign up to become a fireman? Because I did it, or a person, 7 years ago, and she said, Wednesday. That is an example of my white privilege. I think it's an economic privilege more than it is the color of your skin.
Carolla, thanks for coming.
Thank you, man with the tan from Florida.
It's hot there. We don't have the temperate climate that you guys have in LA, so it's 95 and heating right now.
Well, it's dry, but there are a lot of blowhards there in LA, so there's a lot of hot wind blowing around.
How do you view kind of what goes on in Washington as potentially being able to help stand up for free speech? Because we get involved in things, a lot of times we make it worse.
I hosted a show called Loveline for over a decade, and I had a very unique perspective because I was able to talk to troubled kids, teenagers, 2 hours a night for a decade, and I really got to learn something about young people and how they work and what works and what doesn't work. And people say, well, you're not a professor, you never read a book, you never went to college, how are you an expert on this? And I say, well, I'm a journeyman carpenter as well. I've never read a book on carpentry, and who would you like to build your house? Someone who read a book on it or someone who just did it every day for over a decade? And I learned that all of these problems that we're talking about, free speech, discrimination, hatred toward other people, and drug addiction, violence, crime, it all stems from the family. And when the family is intact, much of this stuff just goes away. You don't have to legislate it away. It just goes away because people are brought up in intact families with decent, caring parents, whatever their color, whatever their background is, and then they produce little decent individuals who go off to college or to a job, place of work, and they don't need to be coached up, and they don't need to be legislated, and they don't need to be bloviated by people like us. They grew up in an intact family. So my feeling is all the stuff we're talking about is at the outside of the rim. The hub is the family, and the discussions should center around the family and who is creating these people who think it'd be a good idea to take a baseball bat to the window of a Starbucks in their community.